I'm here, ladies and gents. Sorry for the little delay there. I've been on the phone to the wife. How you all doing? Nice early morning again. I've not had a chance to have a shower yet, so as such would say I'm looking rougher than ever. How's everything back home? Oh, had a bit of a day yesterday. Jesus Christ, a bit fed up with that driving though. It twanged me back as well. He sat on my arse for that length of time, but got to say, it's quite pleasurable driving out there, out here even. It's the views and some of the mountain ranges and stuff we passed on that one were quite outstanding. They really were. Oh yeah, happy days. But mission is completed, and yeah, the video's a good one, I think, to say the least. So that's going to be dropping. I just need to see if I can rally Aaron to put a weekend shift in and try and get him to get that done and get it out. So let's wait and see on that one. But I think it'll be Monday at the latest, but hopefully earlier. So we shall see with that one. But yeah, fantastic day. And the morning spent at Dainichi Toyota. Oh my God, what a place. I think that's probably the highlight to sort of share, because I was keen to get to know wife still thinks I look amazing. She's such a liar, isn't she? She really is. The the farm, because I've learned about, so it's about 5 years now I've been visiting Hiroshi. He is obviously not around here in Niigata. He's out in Toyota City, Aichi Prefecture near Nagoya. So I say you're either on the train, or even if you get to Nagoya on the train, you've got like an hour's drive out to get to him. And fantastic place, fantastic operation that he's running. It really is. But I've been very curious to get into, and often I'm with customers, which makes stuff like yesterday more difficult. But we were talking, and I wanted to get into knowing his journey as Dainichi Toyota, because I think there's maybe a little bit of confusion out there about what he is in relation to the Dainichi operation. Like, why is it Dainichi Toyota? Obviously, the location is the part of that, but you know, what happened? Is it the same? What's going on? And the crux of the story were actually quite fascinating. So he left at some point to go to university, having been told by the father. So this was back when he was still alive. Bearing in mind, their father, Minoru Mano, he's like one of the godfathers of koi. He really is. So let me just shut that door, because that flickering is a nuisance. That's it. Have to get the right door. So he's one of the godfathers of koi, and apparently, for whatever reason, it weren't the easiest translate. The father had sort of decided that it was better for the other two brothers, so Futoshi and Shigeru, who run the Dainichi Niigata operation, that Hiroshi wasn't part of the koi breeding operation. I think for the dynamic of the three brothers, for whatever reason that was, which was quite jaw dropping to hear. So he went away to university, was studying. At some point on that journey, he decided that he did want to be a koi breeder, but there was no place at the inn for him, and that was honestly jaw dropping to hear. So he ultimately, in the end, he'd got a taste being in, I think, Chiba Prefecture. He said it was. He got used to, as he literally described it, this no snow life. The snow here is a big thing that they have to deal with. It's just something, if you're not prepared for it and deal with it on a daily basis, it will overwhelm you and make life incredibly tough. So he got used to it and ended up deciding to start basically as a first generation koi breeder in Toyota. and he wasn't financed by his father. There was nothing in that respect, which is just nuts. He did go back to the farm to train. I can't remember the time period. I think he said about 24 to 29, so 5 years. He went back for training, then came here and started this first generation. He only got, he said, just a few parent fish that had come over from the Niigata operation, and that was it. It had to build the whole thing from the ground up, and that was crazy to hear. I mean, because presumably back then, if the kind of myths were right, I don't know it factually. I mean, Dainichi was incredibly wealthy as a breeder, probably not the wealth they know today, but from a koi perspective, seen, it was the place. So I was stunned. I really was. And then he got into it more about how tough it was, obviously, financing it, building it. And then also went on to explain something else that was quite mind-blowing, is the difficulties Dainichi actually faced twice in a period. And I didn't know about this because their relevance really dropped off for a while. Just after the father passed away, when the sons did inherit the farm, it was a tough time for Dainichi. I don't know if they just struggled adapting or keeping it up, he says, but they got close to the edge. And then again during the earthquake times, so when the Chuetsu earthquake hit, again it really impacted and took them right to the edge. And it was really from there that they've had to build up again to now the extent where you see it, which is just remarkable. But it was at that time, the earthquake, when, as he described it, cheap money was available. He managed to get enough to start the operation in borrowing to get set up in Toyota, and he went from there, which fair play to him, because it is a slick operation, let me tell you. It's clean, it's polished, he's got a fantastic team as well. And his fish is produced. I did get a bit of an insight into that with him yesterday as well, because I said to him, look, your fish look different. I can see similar characteristics, but they're a different style to the Dainichi Niigata operation. And he says it's really important as a koi breeder to, not just follow the pack, try and make your fish distinctive. And you can see even what he's doing there now, like with the new Pandora line he's creating from the Maraju Tancho Showa, in his quest to make a truly monstrous Showa line. So fair play. I was really, really impressed with the whole thing. And then you come up to the current day, or his journey into it. So I think he said it's a total of over 20 years now that he's been running that operation. He said it was 10 years in when he won the All Japan Grand Champion with Kinsen, a fish that for me is one of my all-time favorite fish that I've seen win that prize, and because of its characteristics. And he said it was actually at that point his brothers sat down and advised him. He says, look, you need to seize the opportunity now. You need to start doing auctions and make the most of it. And apparently they really, really pushed him into it because he had no confidence that anybody would want to turn up. But apparently as a breeder, even though he carried the Dainichi name, it wasn't until that win that stuff really took off for him, as he explained. And that makes sense, You do know that Koisho wins in Japan, like nowhere else in the world, can have such an impact for the breeders and the people who raise the fish. You see the impact they have for Narita and his reputation, for example. But for the breeders especially, they have a profound impact because the whole world's watching. They see who wins, and naturally it creates a curiosity around those winners of the major prizes, especially the All Japan Grand Champion. And he says it really did kick off from there, and it has kicked off, and he's gone from strength to strength, and to the point where now today he is all as one. The operation in Toyota and in Niigata are one pot. I don't know if people presume that already, but they weren't to a point. He was completely independent, doing his own thing. And I think that's really the hats off side to that, because some people see a little bit of Hiroshi's character. The kid's wild. If you ever seen him at a dinner or anything, he's the one going around doing the crazy drinking shit and acting the clown. But when I see him at the farm, see her real focus and real skill and talent in the production. And I mean, to be outcast, so to speak, go away, build your own thing, and then ultimately become part of what you was kind of kicked out of. And he said now, the relationship with his brothers, it was never really bad. What his dad did actually helped, apparently, I think he said, if I remember right. And then now it's come sort of full circle back. And he said it's absolutely amazing between them all, the dynamic. So hats off to him, because I even see it going from strength to strength now, to be honest with you. I think his marketing efforts are unbelievable. And maybe he still feels like he has to put that effort in. You've seen him, you might have seen, he does this Dainichi 5 cartoon that he's really gone proper ballsy in investing in, and he does a lot of cool stuff. So fair play, lot of respect for that. And yeah, what a journey, really. What a journey. You think, you naturally think Dainichi these days, you think the kind of, or I do, the wealth, the power, and yeah, you think, oh, it's easy. He's just gone off down there and he'll have had all the money to do whatever he wanted. No, he didn't. He started first generation, and he was telling me, you could see it in his face yesterday, how tough it was. He's then on top of learning the koi breeding, he's had to develop as a business person as well, which is something I've kind of related and associated with. So yeah, what a day. And then that's before we got onto the fish. Oh my word. So if you did watch that last video in December when I visited, it kind of showcased a lot of the fish that are down there. One, if you have watched it, you will remember the kohaku at the beginning, direct offspring of Kinsen, the fish I just mentioned. So that's being concrete pond raised at the moment. So she was 82 cm back in December, and I think now we reckon yesterday maybe getting on for 85, and 100% she's increased in mass as well, big time. I was so impressed with that, and the condition of everything, again, mind, they were just, everything's immaculate, pumping on. I've got a 3-year-old shower there, and oh my goodness, I mean, I'm sure, if I remember right, the fish was either 70 or 71 cm as a Sansai in December, and 100% she's grown considerably. We could be talking there now, getting on for 72, 73 cm Sansai, which, if it goes to the right pond, which I no doubt it will, because he really likes the fish, then we're going to be talking potentially over 80 cm Yonsai. And I know that's possible because I have a 80 cm Yonsai shower there. This is just crazy when you put it up, and you can see in a lot of these fish as well, because it's such quality genetics. It's kind of effortless for them, and they can eat this 80 cm Yonsai that I've got. I mean, you don't question that it's going to surpass 90 because of the way it carries itself and the body line that it's got as well. It's madness, real depth to the quality of stuff there. Not that I'm not dismissing Dainichi Niigata operation, by the way, but I do know the lines that he's created. Obviously, he's took original Dainichi bases, and he'll probably have obviously more access to it since it was become a part of the main operation. But his fish do look different. They do stand out compared to the Niigata joint. I can certainly identify the difference I see. But yeah, it's nuts. It's nuts what they're capable of, and fair play to him. So yeah, that's a bit of a Dainichi Toyota scoop for you guy. Even let me have a neb around in the Tosai House, which is, oh, I love that stuff. I mean, wow, so many of them as well. A little bit lacking in Kohaku this year, I'd say, but show wise, my goodness, just about every pond was rammed full of them. And it's all separation by parent sets as well. So he's got full control of that. And yeah, just so impressed. Based on what I see, Toyota's show as Sumi finished quicker than the one from Niigata. I completely disagree with that statement. I would say the Niigata operation stuff is far faster. There is one particular sort of Sumi that if you get it with a Toyota fish, it will come fast. But all of the pieces I have, my top pieces, have got the traditional Kage sort of style Sumi that takes a long time. Now, with most of them at Yonsai, we're only just starting to get into the crux of it. I know full well you're going to be talking around that 6, 7, and 8 year mark before they hit the pinnacle. But in saying that, that's the same with the Niigata operation as well. It really depends on the style of the Sumi, because there are the two types. And for example, Super Monster at Dainichi Niigata has one of those traits, and you see it again. Mona Lisa, that bloodline with Dainichi Niigata, they tend to have it as well, where it can change and develop quite quickly. But yeah, ultimately, I would say it's time, and around the 6, 7 year mark seems to be a sweet spot for a lot of the Toyota ones. But you're really hitting the pinnacle of Sumi quality at that point as well. So yeah, what a place. And for me personally, I think the bit I like, I've always found it quite so in Niigata, Shigeru is he's quite a tough character to get used to, and it's like there's never any time or interest. But and I actually asked him yesterday. I says, you know, what's the score? What's the crack with your brother? And he's quite insightful that obviously it is a business. It's a big business as well. And Futoshi, the oldest brother, is the chairman of that, and there are targets in place. There is the whole thing going on, and Shigeru is head of operations for that whole Niigata site. And to be honest, the minute that he told me that, I kind of got it, because yeah, if you look at what then his responsibilities are, despite the number of staff he's got, I mean, even just keeping that lot sorted, I think, yeah, that's he probably shouldn't be anywhere near sales, because the man has not got the time. You know, I see him on selections. The selections at this point, when fish are in fish houses, especially, is the only man that touches it. And can you imagine the scale of that as well? That is nuts. So yeah, it was a great day for that overall, and they're clearly very serious about it and pushing the growth and all the rest of it. So fair play, very good. But sorry, coming back to Hiroshi, that's where I was with that. There's a feeling there, and I get it now, because it is a lot smaller. Because his only responsibility is to his farm there in Toyota. He plays no part in the Niigata operation. So you go there, he's got the time. That's what I've always really enjoyed. You see the enjoyment. There's a fish there I've got that I had and sold this year. You can see he actually absolutely loves the thing. You see the passion and enjoyment in what he's produced. So it's kind of like you're at Dainichi, and you know full well you're at Dainichi with the koi that you're looking at, the quality of the facilities and all the rest of it. But it's like dealing with a small breeder in the kind of attention and the passion and energy and enthusiasm that you see, which lacks, it does lack in the Niigata operation a bit, but kind of understandably, because, and then I liken to it, I kind of don't go to Sakai and expect to have Kentaro walking me around, because I know the guy is busy on another level. But obviously that applies equally to Shigeru. My misunderstanding was, I thought his main job was dealing with customers, because obviously he speaks English as well. However, it's clearly not, and it is one of his roles as well, because he's into that. So that's thrown in with all the mix. Whereas now, you know, Sakai has got Kotaro, the oldest son, who is fantastic at what he does. on that kind of front end, and yeah, people have sort of took to him and accepted him incredibly well. So interesting stuff, very interesting stuff. I hope you've all found that takeaway there something, yeah, maybe bits you didn't know as well, because I think it is interesting to get the connections and bits and bobs, and also just see it's not all straightforward. To know that Dainichi as an operation overall was in such a tough place, twice, and we did sort of see it, because the after the father passed away, Dainichi for a good while was just not relevant, and there was nothing of any substance coming out, and yeah, we don't know the full extent of why. I forgot getting wrapped up in stuff yesterday. Forgot to really ask. The earthquake is completely understandable. But I should imagine that the kind of figure and reputation that their father had probably carried a lot of it. And when he wasn't there, the guys had to adapt fast. But will have no doubt had obviously a lot of assets and parent fish and good stuff to fall back on that had been created. It was just a case of getting their shit together, and possibly, obviously, mourning the loss. Incredible stuff. There's loads of these stories in these mountains when you can tap into it. So yeah, and I'll be switching from Dainichi yesterday. Going to go and see Takano today. Got a few. I bought 3 fish out of his Tosai pond last trip, out of his stash. Managed to get them done, but I only literally, this was how it was done, because they were on food, couldn't catch them. I've snapped a picture of them on my phone, which I'll have to look up, and yeah, that was it. Done a deal that way. That was the 4th Sankey as well that trip I'd done like that, because I got this one at NND, and yeah, I've obviously made sure it's prepped this time. Food's off, so I can get them caught and actually get some pictures. And then they're going to nip to see Saito as well, which will be pretty cool. There we go. And then I'll probably spend the afternoon getting a bit more work done. Right. Have we got any questions? Let's have a look. Alan, have you got your new house yet? Still looking. Got something in the pipeline, Alan, but got to get a deal done. Nothing straightforward out here ever. So bear that in mind along that one. Let's have a look who we got. Luke's here, Mickey's here, Andrew's here again. Yes, morning, mate. Very early morning. What's Terry saying? I was thinking that's supposed to say out tonight. We've got Paul, Sean. David Martin, more suspense, yes. So everything I was up to yesterday, the big, there's some good guesses coming out over in the Telegram group, but the whole mission of driving down there yesterday and what it's all for will be on that video that's coming. I just can't say when, because obviously I don't have Aaron working at the weekend, but I'm quite sure I can convince him it'd be a fantastic idea if he spent a day editing that video. I'm sure I can get him to buy into that for you all guys. So leave it with me. Yeah, go on, hit the like button, folks. Why not? Don't cost you out. Come on. Benos, what do you find of breeder Yugenji? Yeah, Yugenji's a great place. Originally, when I started coming here, did a lot with Yugenji. Absolutely. In recent years, just kind of moved away from it for whatever reason. I always found the fish a little bit difficult to settle down when they came in, which was one part. It's not the only part, because you can deal with it. I could deal with it, but I think for me, what tended to happen was I found personally, this is it, one of the agents out here really, really does a lot with that farm. In fact, I would pretty much say dominates it, which it caused it to lose appeal for me, because you probably your chances of getting what you want through the door first, etc., are very limited, and that has a big impact on decision making on where you're going to be building your rapport with somebody, and trying to, because ultimately that is the aim out here. You build that rapport up to be able to maybe get something or some flexibility that you wouldn't get elsewhere, and getting into batches of fish that others aren't going to get, because that stuff's important for building a business. So that was one reason. Ultimately, I got a bit bored of going back and it kind of really being the same thing a lot every year. And just there seemed to be so much, everybody there had your Genji fish, and I just don't think it's. I like, you've probably gathered, to get stuck into stuff, find new stuff, find interesting stuff, because it keeps my interests there as well. And I'm fascinated. So, in what you lose in a Genji, you gain in a Saito. Actually, while you're on that topic, it was through your Genji that I met Saito. I was having dinner with the guys, and Saito was there back in his really early days, and they introduced him. And within that, I think I was with my dad at the time. That's how long ago it was. We drove down straight after lunch to have a look at what this guy had, and it was shocking at the time. But back to Genji, yeah, that's it. Probably where it at. I think the Karashi line I find super. In fact, everything they do, it's not slighting them. They're a fantastic operation. Why I choose to go somewhere and not go somewhere, I've always got my reasons for. And but no, everything they produce, Ginrin Showa, Kohaku, the whole lot, it's of a real quality. But really, it was for plenty of other reasons why I chose not to go there and do too much. And that's become more and more with me over time as well, kind of focusing on a few more places where we can really potentially build something, and where I'm just really, really interested in what they're doing, like at Saito. The guy, he's like a mad scientist, how he's putting these bloodlines together and what's behind the bloodlines. And then with Taniguchi, for example, as well, with the whole corn, and he's always got something interesting behind what he's doing. So, yeah, there's a lot of decisions to make with that. So I'll say it again, though. Genji is a fantastic operation. It just comes down to preferences and kind of strategies, really. Can't buy from everywhere. It took me a while to learn that, because I had a good crack at trying for a little while. Right, let's see what any other questions we've got, guys. Feel free to fire some in, because I don't think I can just ramble about my day much more. Let's have a look. I've got a Pandora show, which is Nisai. Still loads of Sumi I'm waiting for. Yes, I think you will be waiting, buddy. Patience. That's one thing, again, I just like about those fish at Toyota. It is real depth of quality, but you've got to wait for it. When you've got to wait for it, it's going to be good when you get there. How long do breeders keep their koi to understand the genetics from the parent sets? Oh, a long time. Breeders have parent fish most of the time for as long as they will live, especially if they've been successful. Continuity of a bloodline is really, really important, especially for these big brand breeders, because they've got to keep that stuff lines consistent. And even when a parent fish has stopped or they've not had good results, they even tend to keep hold of it beyond that as well. That's why you see these ponds, and I saw it there yesterday, absolutely decrepit looking crooked fish that don't, female fish that don't look like they're carrying eggs, yet they're still getting eggs out of them. It's fascinating, because you expect to see the bellies just absolutely loaded up, don't you? But you've got these skinny, shitty, big size females, and still producing the goods. It's amazing. In your first video, Emma would like to know why some of the NND ponds have white netting around protecting each pond. Oh, no, that was just for insulation. So it's to reduce heating costs. A lot of the breeders line the greenhouses with a polythene or some kind of material, big curtains, just to trap everything in a bit more, because although kerosene costs to us out here are, compared to England, with the exchange rate as well, it's absolutely mad for us. But in Japan, to the Japanese, it's still a cost that they deem to be expensive. and rising like it is everywhere else. So yeah, they're keen to obviously save every penny that they can. Alan, fascinating insight, Ricky. Now you look like a side shower and trim that chin fungus. I need a shower. I do need a shower, mate. But the chin fungus is fantastic, pal. I don't know what you're on about. How big is Saito Koi Farm's operation? It is absolutely tiny. His outdoor mud pond space is more substantial. He heavily relies on that to the point where I know he keeps Tosai mud ponds over winter as well. He has to. But yeah, indoors we are talking two ponds, two decent sized ponds that he separates and has to partition, and then he's got about 3 fiberglass tanks. That is the extent of the guy's indoor operation. He's still not full time. He's a architect slash carpenter, and but he's about 90% of the way there now with what he does. But I just think the guy is fantastic. He's an intelligent bloke, and he's really got his head around the koi breeding side and what he can chuck together, and the depth of quality in his parent fish. You know, you can see he's really, really invested there. The water in the JP show vats, do they use mains water or tanker and spring water like a lot of the farms use? No, it'll be whatever water's at the location. A lot of the time, if it's one of the local shows, I know they can tap into underground stuff still. Obviously, they get it out so quickly. In the Ritsu Center in Tokyo, I've actually got no idea. I can only presume it'll be mains water at that point. But don't know, Andrew. That's not something I've ever asked. Luke, will I be visiting Taniguchi? No, not this time. I've had that big trek yesterday, and even from Toyota, although it was heading down south, it would still probably have to do the same again to get to Taniguchi from there, if not more. Where is Coda based, and what kind of koi does he have? Stuart, I presume what part of Japan? He's in Kawaguchi, which is probably from here. It would take me about half an hour to drive to Koda. Crazy, crazy high up in the mountains in that area as well. He specializes in the weird and wonderful. He really does. He's got nice Ginrin Kohaku. I think pretty much the only Go Sankey other than you have a bit of Showa as well. But yeah, Deutsche Chiba, Goshki's a particular speciality there. Harawaki, and what else have we got? Come on, it's not coming to me. Kikikuru now, Kinshowa as well. Absolutely all sorts. And really, hats off. Deutsche Showa, I don't know if I mentioned that already. Hats off to them guys who do that stuff because, my God, I mean, it's a lot and they're all difficult varieties to produce and it's all he does. So, yeah, crazy. Yes, pal. Didn't have a chance to jump in shower before this morning, but I'm still here. Admire the commitment. Come on. Koi vlogs. What do you think of Sakamaki? Do you have any experience with this fish and some info you can share about him? Koi vlogs, I can only presume you've not spent enough time watching my channel or following these lives, mate. And I know you crop up a lot, so where have you been hiding? Sakamaki's one I've been telling the world about for a while now. He's absolutely fantastic as a breeder, I think. So he's a Dainichi OBK. That's where he's done his apprenticeship. He's a special member of that club and now out there independent. He did inherit his father's farm, but that has pretty much shut down before he took over. And what he's doing with it and the quality he's producing, the show success he's having now, getting real recognition for it as well. He's fantastic breeder. Really, really rate him. And his Ginrin line is punching. Absolutely unbelievable. How's the weather out there today? It's cold. It was nice actually. We literally was just driving down. You see the change in the temperature yesterday, and driving back up, then you see it dropping down and eventually hitting snow. Then getting back here, it's not snow in mind, which is good. and but it's cold. It's still pretty cold. Sun has been out a couple of days, but when it's not that pleasant. What were you staring at? The pic on Telegram in a pond? Well, from what you could see, I was staring at water. Daniel, come on. So just the video. Probably what I should do is I'll just post Aaron's email out publicly, and you can all send him a message saying, "Come on, Aaron, get this video done this weekend." Can I come along to Saito and Taniguchi one year, pal? Of course, why not? Samuel, what's the most impressive thing you have found about Japanese breeders in general? That's a good question. I might have to let that one bubble away for a minute. What's the most impressive thing I've found? Yeah, that is a tough one. Something that just sprung to mind is this depth of understanding of the bloodlines, but that's not with every breeder mind. It's something that recently has been impressing me because the more I learn about the extent some of the big bloodlines are going to, and the problems that they face as well. Because like the Omasako story I pointed out before, where they started producing Showa in order to create a new Shirotsuri bloodline, so they could get parent fish to dilute the blood in the main kind of breeding line, because the problem they face is every Shirotsuri out there really is just diluted Omasako blood, so it's inferior. Just stuff like that. When I get into it, I find it absolutely remarkable, the depth and not. These guys aren't just randomly chucking fish together every year. There's a lot, really a lot to it, and the amount of time. I look at Taniguchi, 11 years to produce golden corn before it was commercialized, and Momotero's been at it again recently with a new, I think, Karashi-based bloodline that they're doing, and there's been at it for 10 years. All that stuff I just find remarkable, and there you go. That leads into it. It's the dedication, but it's not just koi breeders. You see it as a cultural thing in Japan. They become true artists at the things they do because of the dedication they put into it, whether it's that or whether it's 1,000 yen bowl of ramen. And I think that's why you see such quality product come from here. It just aligns with the values and the way that they are. If you're a Japanese breeder, would you be in the north or the south? I'd probably say in the north, just because this is there's so much abundance of resource around here. I think it just sort of makes sense. Does Mano speak English? Shigeru does. Dainichi Nigata. Futoshi will mumble a few words to be polite. And Hiroshi, no, again, he'll mumble a few words. Mickey, is there a risk that the mud ponds freeze over? Are they deep enough for the koi? Mud ponds will freeze over, completely covered in snow as well. It just depends that the koi will be fine underneath. Think about it, the level of the barrier on top actually can come to protect the surface a little bit, acting like a cover. And some of them, when they're lucky, can have access to hot springs, which they'll feed through. Doesn't keep it super warm, but it really keeps the chill off by pumping that water through. Daniel, the majority of breeders still feeding sake, or what else they're feeding? No, it's not. Don't you see sake used? It's in line with the kind of quality level of the breeder. And you can see the guys who clearly choose to invest, but by investing in that food, you can see why they then start getting the results and the value for the koi that they get, because it makes such a difference. But some of the mentalities of the smaller farms, unfortunately, still is that just, oh no, it's too expensive, without actually seeing the benefits it would bring invested in that way. But when they're not particularly raising indoors either, a lot of the guys just keep their tatty koi just ticking over until they bin them off into mud pond in summer. So, But yeah, as soon as you get into the quality places, you see it, and you see loads of the bags around. And to me, it's when I know they are really serious as well by seeing what food they're pumping in. But Japan does generally have access to better foods that are uh, readily available, that aren't Hikari branded as well. Far better choices, I believe, than we've potentially got at home. It's another question there on Saito's mud ponds, but yeah, no, they have to let them freeze over and then go in and harvest them. I've known breeders as well, kind of harvest ponds that have been frozen. I've seen pictures of it in the past when it's happened and they've needed to do it, which is quite an interesting one. Trying to float a net under that kind of one. No meal picks yet. No, the cuisine's kind of dropped off a little bit, mate. I had a Chinese in Toyota, which I didn't think was all that. It was nice, but not all that interesting. Not typical kind of Japanese food. A little bit different looking to the style we have at home, but I'll try and get back to business on that one today, pal. How many trips to Japan in a year, and are they timed at certain times, or when you need stock, or do you treat it as a holiday? That's Stuart. It really depends what's going on. In this instance, nothing to do with stock buying. Although I am stock buying tomorrow, uh, doing the selection cracking pond here for the NND mud pond this year. So uh, yeah, but no, that's not been the focus. We've got business, other matters to tend to, which will become clearer. Um, and then yeah, it depends what's going on. I think was it last year in autumn? No, 2023. I came out with Arthur, and that pretty much was there for the experience and enjoyment. But obviously, regardless of anything, Stuart, this is a place that I need to. You need to be here. You need to know what's going on. Really get into the deep depths of it. And if I want to learn and continue and do, this is the place where the teachers are for me. So it's important to have that time here. So yeah, trips can vary, and it just depends what's going on. I typically like to obviously spend as much time here as I can in a year, but without obviously there's a lot to look after at home as well. Ramen or katsu curry? If you have to eat one every day for the rest of your life, ramen hands down. Ramen is life. Trust me. It's yeah, love it. Must be hard for people who can't speak Japanese to get anywhere with the breeders. Otherwise, you'll have an agent, but the experience can't be the same. Josh, I mean, you've absolutely nailed that one, pal. I can speak about this because I come at it from every side of the fence with this. So started off, and I'll go through this because I think it'll give some context to it. 12 years old when I did my first trip with my dad, and we was with an agent, and it was a tough one. I was excited as hell. I'd been waiting 2 years already since my dad's first trip because I wanted to go on in with that one. But yeah, it just, you could feel the barrier, the agent controlling stuff. I wanted to get to the breeder. By then, I was already like, they're the people. I want to get on the inside of this and learn. And you felt it. It was like a solid big brick wall, just controlling the whole thing. Where you went, the time you spent at places, it was rigged. It felt like it was rigged. And when I came back, is when I Nishikigoi International magazine, the late Nigel Caddock's creation back then. Fujo always used to advertise in there as a breeder and as a shipping guide. And I literally said to my dad, I was obsessed with seeing Fujo's fish in these magazines. This kind of tattigoi style, really young, unattractive looking fish that I'd already got my head into back then. Just had so much appeal. So I said to my dad, can I reach out and see if he can accept us next year? Because we were already planning on going back. So I did. and he did accept us. It was quite a long process. I think my email must have inspired him, because his response was, "No, I really can't handle anymore at the moment, but I'd like to meet you." So we did, and that's when that changed. So even obviously then I had an agent, but it was him, and he was a breeder. And what he started doing around, when I'm going around, was just because his mind was blown that this 13-year-old was here telling telling him what's what, and getting stuck into stuff in the way that I was. So he was really plugging around, and I just felt instantly there I had a teacher in him. And everywhere we went, all of a sudden I've got Nogami teaching me how to pick up and handle big fish, and that was nuts. And then obviously throughout that journey, NND started. So at that point, I think I was into the wholesale business then as well. So our requirements sort of changed in that respect. And I got another agent back then. And that was starting to get frustrating, because they're the good guys, they did a good job. But the narrative, I always felt like they were controlling the narrative again a little bit. And, you asked a question and there was already pre-answering the question. Do you think such and such have this? Well, no, they don't normally, that type of response. So I'm like, well, I want to know. I want to know from there. So it all, for me, it started great, because I started feeling that kind of gap and that distance again. And actually, I think it was some point in that period, I made a bit of a move. And I don't know how many people know this, I set a company up out here with with basically the manager from that agent. That company still exists today as one of the major agents out here. My initial is in the name. It's all stuff I created, the logo, the whole thing, financing, bankrolling, the job lot. And that was just another progression for me into getting to know how things work here at every level. So understanding the whole shipping export process completely end to end. There's nothing about that part of all this I don't know. And when I say that, trust me, there's very few people in the industry that do actually know, because it's so closely guarded and protected. Unfortunately, that partnership didn't work out. Business partner and me being quite different in age, and I think ultimately having different visions for what we wanted to do with it. So I sold my stake in that eventually. And kind of since then, it had always been my intention to get set up again, but it's kind of not happened, because I think the priority has been building up in England. And I think deep down I've known I probably couldn't manage it all. But yeah, I've just been kind of working independently, letting people, friends I've got. So sometimes I'll ship fish and use NND's company to do it, or use other breeders that I know's company to do it. But yeah, everything I handle myself. Then obviously I took on Rie out here, because I just started to feel the limitations of my language at times, with little mistakes happening and bits and bobs. But it's also important to have a presence here as well. So that's kind of how it is now at this point. But yeah, my ability to, having pushed on with the language as well, has really opened doors again on another level, because you can start really communicating with somebody. And the extent of my language is more based around koi and ordering food and getting by. General chit chat and conversation isn't great, but it allows me to really delve into this side of it. And yeah, that's just, take it from me, having just explained all the sides of that fence I've touched. You really don't get to know what's happening here until you've crossed over that fence, because the whole side of it with agents is so controlled, so heavily controlled. Because I mean, nowadays you've got breeders who do export, who speak English, and there's a lot of fear that customers are going to get taken and bits and bobs, and they've all got their own intentions. But ultimately, when you're here with an agent, you see Japan through the eyes of the agent, and that's what gets fed in, not what I walk around and I see what I see, and I form my own opinions and I get my own information direct from source. And that was always the dream for me, always the goal, and that's where we're at. So yeah, it's and when you don't speak Japanese, I tend to find although more breeders speak English and can communicate, it tends to, from what I see of it, it limits the path that people take, because obviously it's quite intimidating. You can often get by, but some guys you can't even get by just walking in with a calculator, because things need to be said, things need to be done. Just even for example, they need to know who you're shipping fish with. If you walk into a fish house, and you could potentially just come here and walk into a fish house, you might get ushered out the door. Who knows? But if you can't tell them who you're shipping a fish with, it would go no further than that. I can absolutely promise you. It's how it all works. So yeah, the language, it's a massive one, but trust me, I have felt just a massive sense, and it allows me to go to the places like Kansuke, Takano, things like that, and just have a completely different experience. And I would say over that time period that's been happening, the learning and the stuff I've picked up has gone to another levels, because, and again, no agents involved. Yeah, it's interesting, but take it from me as well, there'll be very few that kind of get to that point because of how guarded and protected it all is. And I think Japan and the culture as it is, it'll always be that way. So yeah, that was probably a simple question that turned into a long one, but I think it needed some context. So good question, Josh. Just Taniguchi Usaki. I haven't seen sake bags there. The last time I saw food, and don't get me wrong, I don't always get to see where they keep the food, but he has a Hikari Kirin diet that was in a uh, plain bag, which was interesting. It might have been something he's had done, his own recipe formula. The guys out there, Hikari will work with people like that. Obviously, there'll be volumes and stuff to consider, but for most breeders, volumes are not an issue. But I mean, how amazing to have someone like that with the knowledge and depth and experience they've got in fish food production, where you can have something tweaked and formulated if you need to. I just think that's absolutely epic. Daniel, would you not consider becoming an agent for a cheaper alternative not available in the UK, or would volume requirements to make a non-starter? Sorry, Daniel, I'm not quite sure what context. We're speaking food or koi there, buddy. Let me know and I'll come back to it. Koi boy, evening, Ricky. Just a quick one. When you mention ice will act as a warmth barrier, where do you think is best for return heat back to the pond? Oh, top, mid, or bottom? I think below the water obviously makes sense, so it's not chilling as it goes in. I think if you've got something external like that, you're going to chill it way too much before it actually gets in. Let's have a look. God, I've just hit the bottom. Alan, they have respect for you because you've learned their language. Yeah, I just think it's just easier for them as well, to be honest. They do clam up when there's an agent there, because ultimately the agent is the customer. Bear that in mind, and that's always something I ended up having a bit of a gripe with as well, because I understand the kind of goodwill that you would like to think you're building up more sits with the agent than with the buyer themselves. Uh, Although they'll get to know faces and do things, ultimately consider this, right? And I know it's happened because I've seen scenarios where it has. They do one thing that they don't normally do for a customer of an agent. Obviously, the agent sees it. There's no hiding it. And then the agent all of a sudden thinks they're going to expect that again for the next one or the next one, or the next one, because the agent's got all these customers they've got to keep happy and keep it fair as well. Like when fish are getting divvied up and allocated, because most breeders will kind of give for the cheaper tosai every year allocations to each agent, and then to direct customers and bits and bobs that they've got. So when you're in that pool with an agent, whatever that allocation is, you've got to try and get your bit of that scoop. So even this year, when I'm hearing of customers who deal with some of these exporters and agents going, oh, I can't get this fish, that fish. I've picked the phone up and got exactly what I wanted, which I find I don't find it that fascinating because it's how it goes. You know, there's a system to it, and they do a fantastic job. The breeders of trying to keep everybody happy. Daniel, food agents, the whole Hikari thing, Daniel. I know you're having an absolute nightmare with this out in Ireland, mate, but it's tied up in England, and I think it's going to be like that for a long time. Obviously, bear in mind, Hikari as a company, it's not just sake that they're selling. They have got a lot of product that they want to sell. So that whole agency with that is sake, all the other Hikari ranges, all the tropical diets that they do, and it works for them, you know, seemingly. So, and they're very, very loyal people in that respect. And yeah, if they don't see it as broken, why would they want to change it? I do get your frustration. I share a lot of that frustration as well. But yeah, there's a word out here for kind of it is what it is, shogunai, and that's kind of what it is with that one, mate. Really. Since you are going to Kano today, I didn't say I was going to Kano. Oh, sorry, you missed that. Takano. Out here, you literally Takano. Yeah, not Kano. He's the Goshki guy. This is the Sankey guy I'm on about. But yes, to answer your question, Goshki do grow slower than Go Sankey Pal. So quite normal. There's a lot to do to get a Goshki with the characteristics and level that you see at them farms. There we go, ladies and gents. That's 56 minutes gone quite quick, hasn't it? I need to go and jump in shower and make myself look not as rough as I do right now. I think we can probably safely say we can do this one again tomorrow to share today's adventures. And yeah, I'm going to get off now and see if I can't harass Aaron and get him working on this video. So thank you to everybody who's tuned in for that one. And if you're watching later on kind of on catch up, I hope you enjoy it. So yeah, what's that one just come in? Oh, there we go. What's that? Roy just there. Hi, Ricky. And have to DK line. When are we going to see an RS line? Who knows? Who knows, mate? Anyway, yes, guys, thank you very much. I'll get it set up, and fingers crossed, I'll see you at this time tomorrow.